Hello Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus, and welcome to your reading. So Capricorn, today we're going to go over your energy as well as your person's energy. So with all that being said, Capricorn, let's get started. How does Capricorn currently view this relationship? All right, Capricorn. So we do have the Chariot, we do have the Hierophant, and then we also have the Five of Wands out here. For some of you, you could be dealing with a Leo, possibly a Taurus, maybe even a Cancer. Doesn't necessarily have to be the case, but in regards to how you're currently viewing this relationship, there's an overall energy, and I feel like this Five of Wands has a lot to do with like family members, you know, friends, people that you're essentially close with. But there's something that you're very determined to essentially pursue, and it's something that you feel like you should essentially be pursuing, whether this be like a job opportunity, a relationship, whatever it may be for you, right? I just kind of feel like there's people close to you that don't necessarily agree and or want you to go off and pursue whatever this thing is that you want to go off and pursue, but it's something that you feel called to go off and do and or pursue, whether that be, you know, like I said, a person, a job opportunity. But I do want to look at the Five of Wands a little bit more. Tell me more about the Five of Wands. Let's see. Yeah, the Queen of Cups says Seven of Wands. It could just be one person in particular that's very much so like against you pursuing whatever this thing is that you want to go off and pursue. But I can't emphasize this enough. It's something that you feel called to do. And it just kind of looks like there's somebody here that's trying to stop you and stand in your way. So this could just, you know, represent, you know, you feeling called to like start a business, but there's somebody who's very much so against you starting a business. This could definitely represent, you know, you wanting to pursue a particular line of work and somebody's very much so against it. For whatever reason, you have somebody within your life that's very much so against whatever it is that you're trying to go off and pursue, but it's something that you feel called to pursue nonetheless. I just kind of feel like this person's very, very much so, you know, against it. Maybe this person doesn't like the type of line of work that you're trying to get into, you know. It could just be that simple. But let's look at this person. How does this person currently view this relationship? Okay, so we do have the Three of Cups. We do have the Ten of Wands. And then we also have the Hierophant out here. Okay. In regards to how this person is currently viewing this relationship with you, this person sees how determined you are to go off and pursue whatever this thing is that you want to go off and pursue, causing this person to feel like they have no other choice but to like deal with it is basically what I'm getting. To deal with it. Do they want to deal with it? No, they don't want to deal with it, but they feel like they have no choice, because it doesn't matter how much this person tries to essentially stop you from getting into that particular line of work or starting that business or pursuing that relationship. Like, this person feels like they have no choice but to just accept the fact that this is what you want to go off and do. Even though they don't necessarily agree with what you want to go off and do, they feel like they have no choice, you know, but to sit here and deal with it. So if you're trying to like pursue a particular person, Capricorn, I think it's safe to say, homie, that this family member of yours or this friend of yours does not approve of this person that you're trying to pursue a life with and a relationship with. But because you're very determined to pursue a relationship with this person, a life with this person, you know, they feel like they have no choice, you know, but to respect your decision. But if this is like a particular line of work that you're trying to get into, again, even though they're against it, they kind of feel like, you know what I mean? Like, I have no choice but to deal with it. I have no choice but to accept it. It just has that type of feel to it. Okay. How does Capricorn currently feel? If this is like a relationship, yeah, dude. If this is like a relationship that you're trying to essentially pursue, this family member of yours, this friend of yours does not approve of this person that you're trying to essentially pursue a relationship with. But it does appear to me that your mind is essentially made up when it comes down to this person and what you want with this person. You're not going to allow anyone or anything to essentially stop you from being with this particular person. Now, if this has anything to do with you getting into a particular line of work or starting a business, your mind is essentially made up. You feel like this is something that, you know, you're being called to do, you know, whether it's to start that business or get into that particular line of work. It's something, whatever it is that you're pursuing, it's something that feeds your soul is kind of what I'm getting. It's something that feeds your soul. It's something that brings that sense of emotional satisfaction to your life. And it doesn't have to be a relationship, although it could be. It could just be a particular line of work, or it could just be you finally starting that business you've always wanted to start. But it's something that aligns with you. It's something that you feel called to do. It's something that, you know, feeds your soul. It's something that brings that sense of emotional satisfaction to your life, whether it be you know, a person, place, and or thing. You're gonna go off and, you know, pursue it and obtain whatever this thing is that you want to obtain for yourself. All right, how does this person currently feel? Okay, we have the King of Wands to the Empress, and then we also have the Death card out here. Whatever this thing is, whatever this thing is that you're being called to do, okay? Whatever this thing is that feeds your soul, this person doesn't necessarily feel like it's gonna work out and or last, is what I'm gathering. They feel like it's not gonna work out and or last. So if this is you wanting to start a business, this person feels like, you know, it's not gonna work out, it's not gonna last. If this is you trying to get into a particular line of work, they feel like it's just not gonna work, it's just not gonna last. If this is you trying to pursue, you know, a person that you want to go off and build and establish life with, they feel for whatever reason it's just not gonna work, it's just not gonna last. And they feel like it's only a matter of time before you see that yourself is basically what I'm getting, okay? Now keep in mind, just because this person feels like this business of yours is not going to get off the ground, or this particular line of work that you're trying to get into is just simply not going to work out, or this relationship that you want to go off and pursue is just simply not going to last and or work out, doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to. You know, this is just their opinion, okay? What actions? Okay. So we have the Ace of Pentacles, we have the Eight of Cups, and then we also have the your happiness, especially with the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Cups always goes to the Ten of Cups, which basically speaks of, you know, happily ever after, something that's, you know, emotionally satisfying. That's exactly where you're heading towards. Something that's, you know, emotionally satisfying, something that, you know, fills your, or not fills your soul, feeds your soul is what I was going to say. My apologies. And like I said, dude, it could be a person, it could be a particular line of work, it could even be you finally starting that business you've always wanted to start. But I just want to say something really, really quickly here. If this does have anything to do with like you pursuing like a particular person, for prime example, as far as like you know, it not working out between you and this person, you know, your relationship with this person has a great deal of potential, and let me point out why. So we have the Hierophant out here, and then we also have the High Priestess out here, which is a really nice sign to essentially see, because that's basically insinuating that you and this person have this like mindset of giving up is not an option. So if this is like a person that you're trying to pursue, even when you guys do face moments of adversity with one another, you guys are not going to be the type of like individuals that are going to be so quick to give up on one another, causing the relationship between the two of you guys to last, you know, a very, very long time. Now, we got to be realistic here. Nothing lasts forever. You know what I mean? Let's just be realistic. Nothing in this life lasts forever. But the fact that you guys both have this mentality of not giving up on one another is what's going to cause this relationship to last a very, 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 very long time, okay? Now, we also have the Emperor to the Empress out here, making the two of you extremely compatible to one another. If this was a dynamic between you and this person where the both of you were not so much, you know, compatible to one another, you guys were essentially polar opposites, then that's like a strong indication that the relationship in itself may last a long time, but it may last a long time. Like it may last like a good 10 years, if that, you know what I mean? But this is a relationship that can last over 10 years, just considering the fact that you guys are showing up as a Hierophant to the High Priestess to the Emperor to the Empress. Because I noticed throughout the years of doing tarot that when two polar opposite individuals get together, the relationship in itself might last, you know, like a few years or possibly up to like 10 years, if that. And then they eventually break up because they don't have really anything in common. They don't really work well together as a team. They don't really resonate with one another. You and this person resonate with one another very, very well. You know, you understand them, they understand you. You guys are just really, really good together. So, I mean, if this is like, again, like them referring to like, you know, somebody that you don't want, that you want to go off and pursue and establish a life with, but they think it's just simply not going to work out, it could have a lot to do with them like projecting their own stuff onto you. That's definitely a possibility, because this relationship between you and this person, You know, it does have a lot of, you know, potential. It does have a lot of hope, and it does appear to me as a very promising, you know, relationship. So even though they may not, you know, agree with the person that you're choosing to go off and build and establish, you know, a life with, I do feel like, you know, eventually, keyword eventually, you know, this person will essentially come around. But I am definitely getting that there more than likely is a lot of like projection going on. Whoever this person is, you know, it is somebody who does love you. It is somebody who does care for you deeply. It's somebody who doesn't want to see you get hurt. Somebody who doesn't want to see you get disappointed and or let down. And they feel like this person's going to disappoint you. They feel like this person's going to let you down. This person feels like they're going to, you know, possibly betray you or deceive you one day. As far as like their intentions towards you is concerned, it's not coming from a malicious place whatsoever, because I am looking at this person's energy. It does appear to me that this person's coming from a very pure and sincere place. So as far as like where they're getting all this information from, like that this person's going to do this to you, that they're going to do that to you, that they don't have your, you know, they don't have your best interest at heart, I'm not entirely sure where they're gathering this information from. I can only go based off of what I'm saying and how this person is essentially showing up within your reading. Now, if this has anything to do with you pursuing a particular line of work, or starting that business you've always wanted to start. This business looks very, very promising. This career that you're trying to get into, it looks very, very promising. So again, you know, this could just have a lot to do with them projecting. You know, maybe they personally never started, you know, a business, therefore they think you're incapable. Maybe they did go off and start a business and, you know, that business failed miserably. So they think that that's, you know, going to be the same thing that's going to end up happening to you. It's just a lot of, I feel like a lot of projection coming from this person because they've experienced X, Y, and Z. Therefore, I guess everybody around them is going to experience X, Y, and Z. If they go off and get married, you know, it's going to end up in divorce because, you know, their marriage ended in divorce, like, because their business wasn't, you know, successful. I guess your business is not going to be, you know, successful. There's just, I feel like if somebody goes down a path that they've already been down before, like marriage for prime example, and it didn't work out for them, you know, they're the type of person that's going to sit there and spread the word that, you know, nobody should ever get married because it just doesn't work out. Granted, as far as like the divorce rates are concerned, especially in this day and age, it is at an all-time high, which is very, very unfortunate. But just because their marriage didn't necessarily work out doesn't mean your marriage is not going to work out. You see what I mean? Just because their business didn't get off the ground the way that they were hoping it would, the way that they wanted, you know, it to essentially get off the ground doesn't mean that the same thing is going to essentially happen to you. I just think that this person tends to like project things that they personally went through, you know, onto other people. Like, this is what's going to happen because I went through this. You know what I mean? I went and got married and it ended in divorce. So now everybody who gets married is going to end up getting divorced. Or if everybody decides to start a business, it's going to end in failure because their business ended in failure. It's just a lot of fucking projection going on. I do like the fact that you're not listening to them, though. I do like that a whole lot. But we do have the Knight of Swords. We do have the Strength card. And then we have the Four of Swords that fell to the ground. So let me go pick that up. 1 second. Okay, we're back. So, Knight of Swords. We have the Strength card. And then we also have the Four of Swords. At the bottom of the deck, we do have the Five of Pentacles to the Queen of Cups. Holy matrimony. And then we also have the Page of Cups out here. Okay, well, that's interesting. So going back to this person that's like in such disagreement here when it comes down to the person you want to go off and build and establish a life with, or the particular line of work you want to get into, or the business that you want to go off and essentially start, okay? Going back to what I originally said, this person sees how determined you are to go off and, you know, marry this person, start a family with this person, build with this person, or start that business or get into that particular line of work. They see how determined you are to essentially make that happen. And this is kind of like the epitome of them kind of like throwing their hands up, like, you'll see. You'll see. It's only a matter of time. You'll see that marriage ends in divorce. You'll see that business is not going to work out. You'll see that particular line of, you know, work is, you know, not going to work out for you in the end. You'll see. It's the energy of you'll see. You know what I mean? I do feel like in the end, this person's going to find themselves eating their own words. It's basically what I'm gathering. They're going to find themselves eating their own words. So if you're pursuing somebody that you want to go off and build and establish a life with, and they see this relationship thrive and, you know, succeed, there's going to come a point in time, and it may not happen anytime soon, so just keep that in mind. There's going to come a point in time where this person's going to find themselves eating their own words, and they might even go as far as to essentially apologize to you or your person. is basically what I'm gathering, because this person is very vocal when it comes down to how they feel, very, very vocal about it. So they could be extremely vocal about it to like your significant other or possibly to you. But more of the story is that in the end, when it's all said and done, they will eat their own words, and they're either going to apologize to you or they're going to apologize to your person if they went as far as to tell this person that you're currently romantically involved with that, you know, it's just not going to work out between the two of you and that they're just not a good fit for you and yada yada yada. Like they're going to eventually find themselves eating their own words. Is basically what I'm gathering, because God, it's not that this person's hoping that this business doesn't succeed. It's not that this person's hoping that this relationship doesn't last. It's not that this person's hoping that this marriage comes to an end. It's one of those things where this person, you know, because they've walked down a particular path, and it just so happens to be a path that you're now essentially walking down, because it played out the way that it played out for them, they think it's going to, you know, play out for you the exact same way. That's why I was using the example of if this person ever got married before, and they walked down the path of marriage with somebody, and that marriage didn't necessarily work out and it ended in divorce, they think that that's what's going to happen to you because it happened to them. If you decide to go off and start a business, you know, and they just so happen to, you know, start a business, you know, before you, and it just didn't work out and it just didn't succeed and it just didn't thrive, they think that that's what's going to basically happen to you. So that's just kind of where they're essentially coming from. It's just an energy of projection. But it's okay, because in the end, this person will essentially eat their own words. More of the story. So that is what I have for you. Hopefully the reading helped. Hopefully it resonated. And I will see you guys in your next reading. Bye.